Have you ever felt it? That all-consuming pull towards another person, a connection so intense it feels like destiny itself has woven your souls together. It arrives like a divine lightning strike, rearranging your entire universe around a single being. You tell yourself, this is it, this is the one. This overwhelming tempest of emotion, this beautiful chaotic symphony playing in your heart. Surely, it must be the purest form of love. But what if I told you that this sacred feeling, the very foundation of our most cherished stories, poems, and dreams, is the most profound and devastating illusion ever conceived? What if this love is not a path to your completion, but a gilded cage for your soul? The philosopher who dared to call life a mistake, who found more solace in the company of his poodle than in humanity, left behind a warning about love so brutal, so chillingly precise, that once you hear it, you will never see a relationship in the same light again. If this message resonates with a truth deep within you, if you've ever felt like a pawn in a game you couldn't comprehend, I invite you to join this journey of awakening. Like this video, subscribe to our channel for more soul-shaking truths, and share your own story in the comments below. You might simply write, "I am ready to see," to signal the beginning of your liberation. This grand deception begins with a force, a blind, relentless, cosmic energy that a philosopher named Arthur Schopenhauer called the will. Think of it not as a conscious entity, but as the universe's primal, insatiable urge to exist, to continue, to perpetuate itself at any cost. It is the same raw power that compels a salmon to fight its way upstream against impossible currents, only to spawn and die. It is the same vibration that forces a peacock to grow a ridiculously extravagant tail, making it a beautiful, slow-moving target for predators, all for a fleeting chance to attract a mate. This will, this universal life force, has absolutely no concern for your personal happiness. It does not care about your dreams, your ambitions, your individual journey of spiritual awakening. Your joy is irrelevant. Your suffering is collateral damage. Your entire individual existence is merely a vessel, a temporary tool to be used and discarded in its endless cycle of creation. You are a soldier in an army you didn't know you enlisted in, fighting for a cause that is not your own. So, how does this cosmic force enslave you? It uses the most powerful weapon in its arsenal: love. That feeling you believe is a unique, spiritual connection between you and another soul. Schopenhauer would tell you, it is nothing more than a masterfully crafted biological scam. When you see that attractive person and your heart begins to race, when your palms sweat and your mind can think of nothing else, you are not experiencing a mystical union. You are being drugged. Your brain is being hijacked, flooded with a cocktail of powerful neurochemicals, meticulously designed by nature to suspend your rational thought. It's a biological program, an ancient algorithm running in your DNA that has one singular, cold objective: to assess genetic compatibility and trick you into procreating. This force orchestrates a temporary insanity, a beautiful madness that makes you see another flawed human being as the key to your salvation, the missing piece of your soul, the source of your eternal happiness. It creates an illusion so perfect, so intoxicating, that you will willingly sacrifice your freedom, your resources, and your very self to serve its agenda, all while believing you are following your own heart. For decades, this philosopher studied the intricate, often brutal, patterns of human nature, and he discovered a terrifying truth. Romantic love isn't some beautiful cosmic force connecting souls. It's a con game, a biological deception. In his masterpiece, The Metaphysics of Love, Schopenhauer drops a bomb that shatters the very foundation of every fairy tale. The ultimate aim of all love affairs, he wrote, is nothing less than the composition of the next generation. Let that sink in. That overwhelming attraction, the feeling that you finally found your other half, is not about you and her. It's not about shared dreams or a meeting of minds. It's about the children your DNA is ruthlessly conspiring to create. It's a biological imperative dressed up in poetry and moonlight. Your brain is being commandeered by the exact same primal force that drives insects to their death in the act of mating. It is a program, a script written in the language of genes, and you are merely the actor reciting lines you believe are your own. The will doesn't care if she's good for you. It doesn't care if pursuing her will lead to your financial ruin or emotional devastation. It only needs you to play your part in the grand, indifferent drama of species survival. Think about it. Every single time you have fallen head over heels for someone, you weren't truly choosing. You were being chosen. Chosen by a biological algorithm that scanned her features, analyzed her genetic compatibility with yours, and then flooded your system with chemicals to convince you that this calculated transaction was destiny. This is where the illusion becomes a trap, and where most men lose themselves completely. They mistake this chemical-induced obsession for something profound, something noble. They believe that their intense longing signifies a deep, passionate soul capable of a love that transcends the ordinary. But Schopenhauer reveals the bleak truth behind this feeling. All willing, he states, springs from want, from deficiency, from dissatisfaction with one's state. You don't want her because she is a divine being, an angel sent to complete you. You want her because the will has manufactured a painful void inside you, a deep-seated feeling of incompleteness, and then it has projected the image of her onto that void as the sole cure. It has convinced you that she holds the key to your happiness, that her presence alone can fill the emptiness within. But she can't. No one can. Because the void isn't real. It is a manufactured desire, a phantom hunger created to keep you in a state of perpetual seeking. It's a trick to keep you serving these genetic imperatives that have absolutely nothing to do with your true spiritual well-being or your higher purpose. Look at how this plays out in the modern world, a world Schopenhauer could have only imagined in his darkest nightmares. The man who sends 50 unanswered texts is not being romantic. He is a puppet, his strings pulled by the relentless twitching of the will. The man who spends his entire paycheck on gifts for a woman who barely acknowledges his existence is not being generous. He is a slave, offering tribute to a false idol created by his own biological programming. The man who completely alters his personality, his hobbies, his very beliefs to match what he thinks a woman wants, is not adapting, he is disappearing. He is erasing his own soul, committing a slow psychological suicide in the desperate hope of pleasing an illusion. And here is the cruelest part of this divine comedy. Even if he wins, even if she says yes, even if they get together, the satisfaction is heartbreakingly temporary. As Schopenhauer warned, no satisfaction is lasting. The will got what it needed from the chase. It secured the potential for its agenda to be fulfilled. Now, it grows bored. It seeks a new target, a new challenge, a new vessel for its endless, striving nature. This is precisely why so many relationships that begin with such intense, fiery passion so often end in the cold ashes of bitter disappointment. The neurochemical high that made her seem perfect, that made every moment feel like a scene from a movie, inevitably and naturally fades. What you mistook for eternal love reveals itself as temporary chemistry. The spell breaks, and you are left standing face to face not with a goddess, but with a real human being, a person with her own flaws, her own needs, and her own agenda that might have absolutely nothing to do with making you happy. Yet, instead of recognizing this process as biology, simply doing what biology does, most men turn inward and blame themselves. They believe they chose wrong, loved wrong, or failed to be enough. They never realize that they were never truly in control of the process to begin with. Now, let's speak of how this ancient deception has evolved into its most sophisticated and brutal form in our modern age. The digital world has become the will's most efficient playground. Social media has transformed romantic obsession into a 24/7 addiction, a constant, flickering shrine where men worship curated images of women who, in reality, don't even know they exist. Platforms like OnlyFans have monetized the illusion, turning raw sexual desire, that powerful tool of the will, into a transactional subscription service, a sad parody of connection. Dating apps, with their endless swiping, reduce the sacred potential of human connection to a dopamine-fueled slot machine. Swipe, hope, repeat. Each match is a small chemical hit, a momentary relief from the manufactured void, but it only deepens the addiction, keeping you perpetually chasing the next fleeting validation. The modern simp, and I use that word with deliberate philosophical weight, is not just making a social mistake. He is experiencing what the great philosopher Nietzsche, who was deeply influenced by Schopenhauer, would call a complete inversion of the will to power. Instead of cultivating his own inner strength, his own divine power, he is pouring all of his life force, all of his energy, into someone else's validation system. He has become a spiritual satellite, orbiting a sun that gives him no warmth. His happiness rises and falls with the response time of a text message. His future is held hostage by someone else's ever-changing feelings about him. He has willingly placed the keys to his own emotional kingdom in the hands of a stranger. This is not love. It is the ultimate form of self-abandonment. It is a profound spiritual sickness, where the self is sacrificed at the altar of a biological illusion. And what is the final, most insidious stage of this trap? Marriage. If romantic obsession is the disease, marriage is often the terminal diagnosis. It is the societal institution designed to lock you into the biological imperative, to formalize the temporary madness of infatuation into a lifelong contract. Let me paint a picture that no one ever discusses at a wedding. You meet someone during a period of peak biological attraction, when your brain is literally not your own, drugged with bonding chemicals that fundamentally alter your perception of reality. In this chemically compromised state, you stand before your friends and family and make a legally binding promise to feel this exact same way forever. Then, when the drugs inevitably wear off, and you see this person clearly for the first time, stripped of the romantic projection, you are legally and socially expected to honor a contract you signed while, in essence, under the influence. The statistics should terrify you. We all know that roughly 50% of marriages end in divorce, but that's only counting the people who officially quit. Studies suggest that of the remaining 50%, a vast majority are not happy. They are simply staying together for financial reasons, because of social pressure, or out of a paralyzing fear of starting over. They develop coping mechanisms, work that keeps them away from home, hobbies that provide a temporary escape, and sometimes, tragically, affairs that attempt to temporarily recreate the initial intensity they remember from a time when the illusion felt real. Schopenhauer saw this with devastating clarity. To marry, he said, is to halve one's rights and double one's duties. But it's worse than that. Marriage institutionalizes the very suffering that comes from binding your happiness to another person's unpredictable behavior, moods, and cooperation. Your time ceases to be your own, now subject to joint decisions and family obligations. Your money flows into shared accounts and household expenses you might not have chosen. Your own living space becomes a negotiated compromise between differing tastes and needs. Your goals, your life's mission, must now be negotiated with someone who may not share your vision. Gradually, systematically, the individual man disappears into the socially sanctioned role of husband, a job with a very specific set of expectations and severely limited autonomy. So what is the alternative? How do you escape the will's trap? How do you find genuine freedom in a world that is meticulously designed to keep you enslaved to romantic fantasy? The path begins not with action, but with awareness, a brutal, unflinching self-awareness. That overwhelming attraction you feel, you must learn to observe it, not become it. Don't romanticize it. Recognize it for what it is, biology. See it as an impersonal force moving through you, not as a sacred message from the universe about your destiny. That nagging sense that you need someone else to complete you. You must understand it as a program, a piece of sophisticated mental software designed to make you serve genetic imperatives that do not care about your personal happiness. Awareness, however, is not enough. You must then actively cultivate what Schopenhauer called aesthetic contemplation. This is not merely about looking at pretty pictures. It is about achieving states of consciousness where the relentless demands of the will temporarily cease. It is a state of pure, desireless awareness. This sacred state can be found anywhere. It happens when you become so completely absorbed in a piece of art or music that you forget yourself. It happens when you are so focused on solving a complex mathematical problem or mastering a skilled craft that time itself seems to disappear. It happens when you are immersed in the profound beauty of nature or when you grasp a deep philosophical truth. In these moments of flow, of pure absorption, you are momentarily free. You experience a state of pure consciousness, an awareness that is free from the tyranny of wanting. You are not seeking, not desiring, not lacking. You are simply being. This is the practice. This is the path to freedom. By deliberately seeking out these states of aesthetic contemplation, you begin to build a new center of gravity within yourself. Your identity shifts from someone who is defined by their desires and their pursuit of romantic validation to someone who is defined by their consciousness, their purpose, and their creations. And here is the ultimate paradox, the divine secret that will blow your mind. This very state of self-possession, this detachment from neediness, often makes you profoundly more attractive, not less. People are not truly drawn to neediness, they are drawn to wholeness. They gravitate towards those who seem complete in and of themselves, who don't require external validation, who have cultivated rich inner lives and fascinating perspectives. The man who has genuinely transcended romantic neediness radiates a calm confidence that is magnetic, precisely because he is not trying to attract anyone. He can appreciate beauty without the desperate need to possess it. He can enjoy a conversation without calculating its romantic potential. He can be alone without ever feeling lonely. Most importantly, he sees clearly. He is no longer looking at women through the distorting fog of projection and fantasy. He is seeing actual human beings with their own agendas, their own flaws, and their own limitations. This clear vision protects him from making the romantic mistakes that destroy other men's lives. You now stand at a spiritual crossroads. On one side lies the path that is familiar, the path that society has paved for you. It is everything you have been programmed to want, the romantic fairy tale, the soulmate myth, the belief that somewhere out there is a person who will finally complete you. This path is crowded, and it leads directly into Schopenhauer's trap, a cycle of temporary highs, inevitable disappointments, and a quiet life of servitude to a force you don't understand. But on the other side lies a different path. It is harder, it is lonelier, and it requires a level of honesty that most people find terrifying. It is the path of truth. The truth that you are already complete. The truth that your happiness is, and always has been, your responsibility alone. The truth that the love sold to you by culture is a biological con game designed to perpetuate the species at your individual expense. Most men, when faced with this choice, retreat back into comfortable delusions. They would rather suffer a familiar pain than face an unfamiliar freedom. But you are different. You are here because a part of your soul already knows this truth. The question is, what will you do with this sacred knowledge? The truly liberated man doesn't seek to win the romantic game anymore. He chooses to stop playing it entirely. He doesn't seek to become more attractive to women. He seeks to become independent of their approval. He doesn't chase better relationships. He builds a life so complete that relationships become an optional enhancement, not a desperate necessity. This is the Schopenhauerian revolution, recognizing that your true enemy isn't women or society, it's the will itself. It is the blind, primal force within you that creates artificial needs and then falsely promises that satisfying them will bring you peace. But the will always lies. Every satisfaction is temporary. Every romantic conquest is, in the grand scheme, ultimately meaningless. The only escape is to stop feeding it. Redirect that immense power, that energy you've wasted on chasing validation, toward developing your own consciousness. When you do this, the desperate hunger that drives you toward romantic fantasy begins to dissolve. Not because you've satisfied it, but because you've recognized it as an artificial imposition on your naturally complete consciousness. You discover something the will never wanted you to know. You were always everything you were looking for in another person. The completion you sought in romance was always within you. The love you craved from others was always available from yourself. When this realization truly penetrates your consciousness, everything changes. You stop seeking salvation through dating apps. You stop analyzing text messages for hidden meanings. You stop rearranging your life around someone else's availability. You become, in the truest sense, self-possessed. Some will call this selfish. Let them. They are using language designed by the system to pull you back into servitude. Some will call it lonely. But you will know the profound difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is the absence of something you feel you need. Solitude is the presence of everything you truly are. The choice is yours.